Yo, welcome back to a brand new video here on the second channel. I thought we should look at some early Pokemon 151 decks over in Japan and see what is doing well with these new decks. Of course, we do have three EXs to look at. We got Blastoise EX, Charizard EX, and Alakazam EX early deck list. I thought it'd be cool to take a look at them, even though the set is coming out in September, and of course, Obsidian Flames is also coming out before this. I still thought it'd be cool to take a look at these decks regardless, because you got to keep in mind Obsidian Flames is going to come out before then, but we can kind of get an early peek as to how people are building the Alakazam, Blastoise, and Charizard decks over in Japan, which I'm excited to take a look at here. I will leave a link down below to the website if you want to go take a look yourself and see these lists for yourself and all that good stuff. So we can start things off here, of course, with Charizard EX, which, if you don't know what it does, Charizard EX is a very strong card. So it does have 2 attacks. It's got Resolute Wings that does 1 for 160 if this Pokemon has any damage on it. So 1 for 160 is not bad. The effect of the attack does work with Magma Basin, and that is really good. Obviously, being a fire Pokemon, Magma Basin is a no-brainer to play in the deck, so having access to Magma Basin synergy is really, really good. 1 for 160 isn't bad damage output. You are able to two-shot most things. Then the main selling point of the Charizard EX is that huge swing attack and detonating vortex that for 4 fire energy does 330 damage, and then you discard 3 energy from this Pokemon. So a very strong attack. 330 damage will almost certainly knock out most things in the format except for Skeledirge. Look at that. But yeah, no, definitely a really strong attack. 330 damage is an insane amount of damage to do, and it only needs 4 energy, which isn't even that bad, to be honest, in the meta fire Pokemon have access to right now. There's a lot of actually synergy for it, and let's take a look at what players in Japan have decided to cook up for Charizard. Starting things off here, we do have this build here using the Pogozard, and I think this is kind of the optimal way to play Charizard. Is going to be with the Pogo Charizard. Pogo Charizard already is going to be played in the deck because you already have the Charmander and the Charmeleon for the Charizard EX. So the Pogozard's ability does double the fire energy on the Charizard, meaning that that big attack that does 330 damage for 4 energy now works for just 2 fire energy as long as you have the Pogo Charizard in play, which is actually pretty sick. This build is kind of interesting. This is a all Charizard deck. You got the Pogozard, the Charizard EX, the Radiant Charizard, and the Charizard V-Star in the deck. So lots of Charizards to go around in this deck. And the one thing will be is, can this Charizard EX compete with the other Charizard EX we're going to have in the next set with Obsidian Flames? And I think that's obviously one thing to take away from these Charizard lists. I think this Charizard list is fine right now. But, of course, when we get the other Charizard in Obsidian Flames, this will probably play that. And that's kind of the thing with Charizard EX from 151 that kind of fascinates me, is we already have another Charizard EX coming out. Will there be any potential play for both of them to live in the same world? I'm not sure. I think that is kind of cool, though, that that is a possibility. I'm sure we'll be looking at Obsidian Flame deck lists soon. But I don't think these Charizard EX decks are finalized because we have another Charizard coming out, right? So I think that's going to be a big deal. This deck does play the Moltres, which I have pulled up here. This new Moltres is a really interesting card. It does have the ability where if it has any energy on it, it has a free retreat. And then, of course, you have Flaming Flight. That discards 2 energy from this Pokemon and then Snipe Sling for 120. So like basically a mini Delphox V. I don't know if it's good, to be honest, but I guess it's okay if your opponent doesn't bench Manaphy, which, if I'm playing against a Charizard EX deck, I'm probably not benching Manaphy, but maybe I should, because we got this list here. I like this list quite a bit, actually, the second list here to take a look at. This one does utilize the Delphox V and the Mew EX. Mew EX does, of course, copy any of your opponent's active Pokemon's attack with its main attack, and that's pretty good. As a Psychic Pokemon, you can hit for weakness. And then, of course, you have the Charizard EX here and the Delphox V doing the 120 snipe. The only thing I don't like about this list is the one Charizard EX. Opting for just a single Charizard is kind of ballsy, to be honest. I'm not sure I agree with that. I think you should still probably play more. I get it's more of a Pogozard deck because you have the Delphoxes and the heavier count of the Pokemon Go Charizard, but I still think this list should probably play more Charizard EX. But I do like it. We even see the new Big Balloon tool card that gives Stage 2 Pokemon a free retreat, which is pretty cool. And then we got another Charizard list here. This one is playing a little bit more of a straightforward build with the Squawkabilly. Not playing any draw engine, using a couple Entei, though, is nice to have. I do like this list, too, for Charizard EX. It does look pretty straightforward, and I do like it, right? It's a bit straightforward of a build. Squawkabilly to hopefully set you up, get energy potentially in the discard pile. The Forest Seal Stone Entei is actually not bad either. You can use Forest Seal Stone to make it easier to get Rare Candy Charizard as quick as possible, which I do quite like about this build of Charizard quite a bit. We got this build, once again, playing very straightforward stuff. I am going to see here, there is a 2-2 Fearow line. I'm not sure what the Fearow does. I forget what Fearow does. I don't think Fearow is very good, though. I don't think it's ever worth running the Fearow. This build here does play the Barrel and the Squawkabilly. There is Basculin in the deck, too. That's actually the second Charizard EX list that's played Basculin, which is odd. I mean, it does get you Charmanders. I feel like it's just always better at that point. If you're going to play Basculin in this type of deck, maybe just play Battle VIP instead. I do like this build, again, playing the Barrel for the draw engine, helping against Iono's nice, playing the Squawkabilly. Maybe if there's room, you could try to squeeze in a few Entei's in the deck, like the other build, where you have the Barrel draw engine, but you also have access to Entei V with Force Seal Stone, which can help you out, set up your board a little bit. This build here is also very much like the other build, except without the Squawkabilly. Or it does have Squawkabilly, I mean, but it does play the Celebrations Mew, which does allow you to find rare candy. I like this build too, right? Being able to search out rare candy with Mew is pretty good, and then having access to the Entei Force Seal Stone is nice. Very straightforward build, once again. Not playing any draw engine, though, other than the Squawkabilly / Mew, and I guess the Greninja's in the deck. But there's only 9 energy, so it's not like you're going to use Greninja, like, every single turn, right? Even with the Basin. So I'm not, like, sold on the Greninja draw engine. It's really this there for, like, the early game stuff. Now, this is what I like, too, to see. Charizard EX seems pretty good with Armor Rouge, because what you can do is that big attack that does 330 damage, discard the energy, and then you can attach energy from your hand, and then Magma Base into the bench, and then Armor Rouge that energy back to the active Charizard and build it up. So I feel like Armor Rouge is probably another really solid way to play Charizard EX. I know Charizard does have another strong energy attack, and this build actually takes advantage of it, playing the Cheryl, which is really, really cool. This deck does play the Cheryl, of course, but I do like the addition of the Armor Rouge. I think the Armor Rouge is kind of a no-brainer. This build does seem a little bit more slower, as it does play multiple Stage 1s and then a Stage 2 Pokemon, but again, the Armor Rouge does have natural synergy with Charizard, right? So I kind of like it. And that's it for the list. It just takes you to, like, Charizard V-Star list, but that's all it for the Charizard EX list. And again, I think Charizard EX is probably the one EX in this set that we haven't really finalized on, because we are going to get another Charizard EX, right, which could impact the playability of this card. Next, we got Blastoise EX, which I don't think will change much with Obsidian Flame. So Blastoise EX could be a brand new partner for Xianpao. So let's take a look at what Blastoise does real quick. So Blastoise EX is a pretty solid card. I think it's another pretty strong Stage 2 EX. So it's got a decent ability where it takes 3 less damage from attacks, effectively giving Blastoise 360 HP, actually giving it a bit of bulk, which is nice. And then you have Twin Cannons that discards up to 2 base squad from your hand, and this does 140 for each card discarded in this way, meaning that you can do 280 damage for 2 energy. This card is very bulky and does a strong amount of damage for a low amount of energy. And obviously you can play this with Baxcalibur. Now, the problem with playing with Baxcalibur is you are fitting in multiple Stage 2, which I guess is fine when you have Irida, but I'm not sold on the Baxcalibur. But it is nice to have. I think Star Portal Palkia is going to be the main thing, and we can kind of actually get into that here. We scroll down to this build of Blastoise here. I like this build quite a bit. It does have the Palkias, and I think Palkia is a very strong way to power up your Blastoise, because you can use Star Portal to put 3 energy into play. So effectively what you do is you use Palkia just for the V-Star power, and you V-Star 3 waters onto 2 different Blastoise. You go 2 on one on the other, and then you can attach return on the other one and build up 2 Blastoise just like that. And I think that's actually a pretty good way to go about it. The deck does play the Raihan and the Barrel engine to help you set up. The Squawkabilly is really good too if you're trying to accomplish a fast Star Portal setup on your board. And it's not hard to get Blastoise when you have Irida. I like this build quite a bit. I think this is a pretty solid way to play Blastoise. In my opinion, you got the draw engine, you got the setup engine with Squawkabilly Greninja, you got the Palkia to build up your Blastoise, you have another really strong V-Star attacker if need be. Quite like this build of Blastoise. We got another build here using the Palkia and the Xianpao. Xianpao doesn't seem like a bad idea either. Xianpao does get you 2 waters into your hand, which does speed up the process of getting the energy into play for Blastoise. The problem I have with Xianpao is that you just have like an extra boss target in play. This build actually plays multiple Lumineon and a Starmie V in the deck for more power, so not sold on all of that, but it doesn't seem like a terrible way to play Blastoise either. This build uses the Gardevoir Curly engine. This is actually another spicy way. So, unlike having Barrel, you do have access to Gardevoir Curlia, which kind of serve a multi-purpose type thing. So, Curlia can get you a bigger hand. You can also use Curlia to get rid of water energy alongside the Greninja. And you also have Gardevoir, which can attach energy into play onto a Blastoise in the late game if need be, which I do like quite a bit. So this build also seems pretty decent, all things considered. Having access to all that draw is decent. It does play Cleansing Gloves, which is kind of cool. Cleansing Gloves does allow you to one-shot a Gardevoir EX with Blastoise for 2 energy. 2 energy Blastoise is 280. With the Cleansing Gloves, it's 310 to a Gardevoir EX. And Gardevoir is probably not going anywhere anytime soon. Another build using the Palkia and the Blastoise. And that looks to be, oh no, maybe not. There's a build here that doesn't even play Blastoise, but there is another build here that does play Blastoise. Once again, playing the Palkia, then the one of Xianpao, and one of Trekking Shoes. And Echoing Horn, Temple of Sinnoh, Lake Acuity. I actually don't hate that. Lake Acuity of Blastoise does make it take 50 less damage from attacks, technically. And that's pretty good. That gives your Blastoise, what, 380 HP? That's like even bulkier than a Goodra after doing Rolling Iron, which is actually pretty sick. So I wonder if like that's actually pretty good. Lake Acuity and Blastoise doesn't seem like a bad idea. It gives you so much HP to work with. That could be pretty good, in all honesty. It's like good against Lost Box. So like they spit your Blastoise, and they're doing 50 less. They're doing 60 damage. You have a 330 HP tank in play. That's not bad. This build just straight up Blastoise with Xianpao. This build's a little odd. I'm not sure how this build is gonna win games. I guess it's a bit of a slower pace setup deck. It doesn't have any energy acceleration. That's the problem. This build relies very solely on Blastoise getting energy attachments manually. It doesn't even play much draw. It plays 4 Irida, 2 Boss, and 2 Arven, which is very interesting. So, very interesting list of Blastoise. Still think you'd want to play Palkia, right? And we got another Palkia build, again, playing the Starmie. Whoa, wow, this is definitely a Palkia build. 4-3 Palkia line. Very heavy count of Palkia, trying to really get the attacks in with Palkia. Another Blastoise Baxcalibur deck. I mean, the idea is not terrible, right? You can build a Blastoise easily. Blastoise is tanky enough for... It's definitely going to be bulky enough. And with the Xianpao already in the deck, you have another 1-hit KO attacker, and you have the ability to Shivery Chill to get you energy. And it's not hard to get multiple Stage 2s in play when they're water Pokemon, when you can just Irida for Rare Candy Blastoise or Rare Candy Baxcalibur. More Palkia action here, playing Suicune V as another heavy hitter. This build does play double Lake Acuity, so really kind of capitalizing into that idea of making your Blastoise super tanky, which I do quite like. Another Palkia build, very straightforward Palkia build, actually. 3-3 Palkia, and also playing very heavy counts of energy retrieval, and playing a bit of draw cards with Pokegear as its engine, since you're not playing any Bibarels or anything. It does play 13 Water, 2 Rock Sand, 4 Irida, 3 Research, 4 Pokegear, so very heavy count of draw, and consistency with Pokegear and Retrieval. Another Guardy build. I don't know, I don't hate it. The thing with Gardevoir is it makes it easier, I guess, to find rare candies. When you're just building up a massive hand through Gardevoir Curlia, you're able to do that, and building up a big hand also lets you find energy a bit easier. The downside, I guess, of Gardevoir Curlia is you don't have access to, like, Bibarel Superior Energy Retrieval, because all the other builds that play Bibarel, I kind of like the Superior Energy Retrieval take that they did instead, but works all the same. This build is very interesting. This is definitely a Turbo Blastoise deck. It plays 19 Water Energy and 4 copies of Candace. It lets you look at the top 7 cards of your deck and take any number of Water Energy and Pokemon, put them in your hand. I don't hate it. It's a very straightforward build. It literally plays 4 Irida, 4 Candace, 1 Boss. No draw. That's interesting. It has Greninja with 19 energy alongside a lot of recovery cards. So it's probably not, like, terrible in terms of draw. I guess, like, Greninja's draw power is actually not too bad in this deck. Maybe if you added a few more retrievals in the deck could go a little bit harder, to be honest. Maybe even a couple Melanie could be good in here, too. I wouldn't hate, like, 1 or 2 Melanies being in this deck either. This build is also Guardy-centric. Actually, not even playing Palkia, just capitalizing on Gardevoir completely to set up. Don't hate it. Again, Gardevoir's ability, Shining Arcana, does let you set up your Blastoise, which is pretty nice. The Curly and Jonjon isn't terrible either. More Palkias. This one does play the Celebrations Mew. That's also something that could be good in the deck. I mean, Celebrations Mew does find you Rare Candy Blastoise. When it plays 4 cores, 4 Irida, shouldn't be too hard to get there. Also with Pokestop and heavy items. Oh, I mean heavy items. I mean, holy moly, it's a lot of items. So, very interesting. I guess this is a Turbo Blastoise deck, right? Another Baxcalibur Xianpao deck playing the Blastoise. We got another Palkia Blastoise again. Gardevoir Blastoise with no Palkia. I do like that, too. I do like it. I still think you'd want to play Palkia in the deck, but making your opponent go through 3 Blastoise EX probably is also a decent strategy with this deck, too. More Baxcalibur. Ooh, this is a cool deck. So, using Eldegoss to get energy in your hand. So, not only does Eldegoss give you 2 energy in your hand for Blastoise, but it can also set you up for early discards early on. Don't hate that. It's a free 2 energy. This also opens up the ability to play more Super Rod in the deck. You can go Super Rod Eldegoss to get energy back. Cool. More Palkia stuff. More Palkias. Got more Guardy Blastoise. Ooh, nice. Baxcalibur with a couple of Mew EXs in the deck to copy your opponent's active attack. Could be nice. Another Eldegoss build with the 1-1 Palkia. 2 Zinnias Resolve, 1 Iono. Interesting. And that's it for the Blastoise decks. Finally, we can take a look at the Alakazam here. This is the last of the Pokemon 151 decks here on this Poke website. I'm pretty sure we're going to see more 151 decks, like with Arbok EX and all that good stuff eventually, so keep your eye on that. But if you don't know, Alakazam EX does one of the coolest cards in the new set. Alakazam does have the attack Mind Jack that does 90 plus 30 more damage for each of your opponent's bench Pokemon, but the main attack everyone's all hyped about is Dimensional Manipulation. This Pokemon can use this attack even when it is on the bench. So for 1 energy, or for 2 energy, it does 120 damage and can attack on the bench, meaning that Alakazam has to be bossed out to be KO'd. And the nice thing about Alakazam is it does have 310 HP, so it actually is pretty tanky, and Boss's Order is the only thing that can really gust it out and knock it out, which is quite cool. So let's see how people have built their Alakazam deck. So the first one here, this is the build I like the most. This is kind of what I was thinking. Like having a bunch of one-prizers be in the active that disrupt the opponent while Alakazam sits on the bench. Best examples of this is Klefki and Mimikyu. Klefki being on the bench allows you to block abilities like Comfey and what other abilities are out there? Comfey, Greninja, Mew. You're shutting off a lot of abilities, you know, Genesect V. Mimikyu is immune to EXs and V, so in a lot of matchups where Mimikyu can be a complete wall, the opponent sometimes has no way to deal with Mimikyu. And then you have Block Snorlax, where you can trap something in the active spot, keep a Snorlax in there, and then attack it on the bench with Alakazam. And that's quite cool. It does play the new Ditto, which does transform, I think, into a basic Pokemon from your deck, I'm pretty sure. So it counts as like a 5th Abra, essentially, which is nice. Really cool list. This is what I kind of had in mind when I wanted to build Alakazam. Because I did see some early builds here. These ones are playing Gardevoir EX with Alakazam, which honestly isn't terrible. Alakazam could be a good partner for Gardevoir. We do see a couple Klefki, the Mimikyu, and even playing the Palkia that prevents stadiums from being removed when it's in the active. So what you do with Palkia, you stick Palkia in the active, you slap a Path in play, and in like a Gardevoir mirror specifically, you go Palkia in the active, Path in play, Alakazam on the bench, and then the Path sticks in play because Palkia's ability prevents your opponent from being able to play stadiums. So that's kind of the idea behind the Palkia. Another build here playing Klefki Mimikyu, which again I think is kind of going to be the main partners you see Alakazam with. I don't know if there's any other abilities. I guess there's Empoleon V that you can play Alakazam with, but Klefki's probably just better, right? It's just a more widely broad, you know, it's just a better Empoleon, right? And then just play the Mimikyu and the Radiant Jirachi. We also see a Helix Fossil in the deck, which is odd. I don't know what that's in there for. And then, of course, we got a Shadow Rider build of Alakazam. Kind of a weird deck list, playing the Klefki Snorlax, playing a Mew, an Unknown V in the deck, which does win the game if you have 1 prize remaining. And then you have a Radiant Eternatus in the deck with no way to put it off the board. No Collapsed or Penny. I haven't done Radiant Eternatus yet, actually, in Standard yet. I have to get on that. But this build is definitely an interesting take on Radiant Alakazam with Shadow Rider. I think kind of the thing, though, with Alakazam that makes it cool is that it's a very hard to KO 2-prizer that sits behind 1-prizers that are annoying to have in the active spot. This build playing the Radiant Jirachi. Radiant Jirachi isn't terrible. It can get you Rare Candy Alakazam as a starter, but you can also have it sit in the active spot as a wall, because if you're just like, hey, you can attack my Radiant Jirachi, but then you give me 3 extra cards to work with. So I wonder if this like Radiant Jirachi is kind of a cool inclusion into the Alakazam deck. But yeah, Path, Klefki, Mimikyu, Snorlax, Jirachi, pretty good walls. Yeah, I like these kind of just straightforward builds of Alakazam here using the Klefki, Mimikyu, and the Barrel Engine. This build is interesting, playing a 1/1 Espeon VMAX and a Leafy Camo Poncho, so trying to kind of just stop Sableye, which could be an issue. I mean, well, is it even an issue when you have Klefki? So that's the thing, like with Alakazam EX, right? Klefki can shut off Comfey and Radiant Greninja and Cramorant, so like it's really hard for your opponent to get to the point of being able to do Lost Mine when you're disrupting their hand, because you can play like Iono Judge. I don't even know if you need Espeon, because I guess the idea of the deck is Klefki and Alakazam go so well together against Lost Box that they're never setting up Sableye anyways, but I guess as an insurance. And I guess Espeon's a strong attacker. It does play that one of Double Turbo, where Espeon could hit hard in some matchups. Then we got another Alakazam build. Playing the Radiant Alakazam. I actually kind of like that. There's actually decent synergy between the two. Radiant Alakazam does allow you to manipulate the damage, which can be decent to 2-shot, because Alakazam's only doing 120 damage, right? Even with the double belt, right? You're not hitting super hard. So being able to manipulate some of the damage, move it around with Radiant Alakazam is kind of cool. There's natural synergy with both Alakazams, in my opinion, so I actually kind of like the idea of that. Radiant Serena could also be another decent Radiant to play in this deck, to be honest, too. But Alakazam also can attack. Radiant Alakazam can attack, right? Mind Jack does 20 damage for each card in your opponent's hand. Not bad in a few matchups. And I like it. This is a very interesting build of Alakazam, playing Unknown V-Star and Shadow Rider in the deck. Unknown V-Star's V-Star power allows you to activate the ability where all of your opponent's Pokemon are made to Psychic, which means you can sit behind Mimikyu or Klefki or Snorlax, and then Alakazam is doing 240 damage from the bench, which couldn't be bad. I don't hate it. I guess if, like, Unknown's in play, they're not taking out the Alakazam. That's kind of cute because, like, well, you got to boss the Alakazam, or you can boss the Unknown. If you don't boss the Alakazam, I'm still going to attack you from the bench if you don't boss the Unknown. It's like, I don't know. No Poncho in the deck, though, which is odd. And this is the last Alakazam list here. We got, again, playing the Klefki, Mimikyu, Alakazam, Snorlax. But yeah, those are the early lists for some new cards from the Pokemon 151 set. Of course, that does come out after Obsidian Flames, which is obviously a bit of a ways away. But I'm excited to still see what comes out of the early list here, because I'm sure there'll be more early lists to come in the future. We just have to wait for the list to come out. But I did want to include a few of them in today's video to kind of get a sneak peek at what the meta will look like. I'm sure we'll look at Obsidian Flame deck list soon too, which I'm definitely excited to take a look at Obsidian Flame's list and all that good stuff. Thanks for watching the video. If y'all enjoyed today's video here on the second channel, leave a like. What do you think of these early lists down below? Which list do you think is the strongest? Which card are you most hyped for? Alakazam, Blastoise, or Charizard EX? I would love to know down below. Thanks for watching. Hope you all enjoyed the video, and I will see you on another video. Bye-bye.